What would you do if a billionaire turned around at a high society wedding, pointed at you, a complete stranger, and said, "She's with me"? Would you run? Would you pretend? Or would you step into the spotlight of a world that never wanted you in the first place? Emily Parker thought she was just delivering a wedding gift. No invite, no seat, no name on the guest list. Just a favor for her mother, a quick drop-off, and then home. But in the blink of an eye, she found herself pulled into the glittering ballroom of Boston's most elite hotel, on the arm of Logan Walker, one of the most powerful CEOs in the city and the ex-fiancé of the bride. She wasn't dressed for it, she wasn't ready for it, and she certainly didn't expect to become the target of secret stares and a very public showdown that would expose a truth even she didn't see coming. But what started as a lie turned into something no one could have predicted. Stay with us, because this isn't just a fake date story. This is about dignity, redemption, and a single moment that rewrote everything. And what happened in the end will stay with you long after the screen fades. Emily Parker never meant to be part of the evening. She had no dress code, no place card, and certainly no intention of becoming the talk of the Upper East Side. She was simply doing a favor, delivering a gift her mother had guilt-tripped her into bringing for her cousin Lauren Whitmore's wedding at the prestigious Westbridge Hotel in Boston. But fate doesn't ask for permission. "Ma'am, if your name's not on the list, I can't let you in," the doorman said flatly, arms crossed, not budging an inch. Emily paused at the entrance, clutching a modestly wrapped gift under her arm. She glanced down at her beige sundress, simple, clean, maybe a bit wrinkled from the subway ride. The chandeliers inside glittered like galaxies, casting golden light on guests in satin gowns and designer tuxedos. The air smelled of peonies and prestige. "I'm just here to drop off a gift for the bride," Emily mumbled, cheeks flushing. "Name, I think I have the wrong day." That was a lie. She knew it. The doorman knew it. Her heart sank. She turned to walk away, stomach knotting with humiliation, when a low voice sliced through the air. "She's with me." Emily froze. The doorman straightened. Mr. Walker, standing just behind her, was a man out of a Wall Street fantasy, tall, sharp features, the kind of navy suit that whispered wealth without shouting, and a loosened collar that made him look dangerously unbothered. His gray eyes weren't on the doorman. They were locked on Emily. "Logan Walker," he said smoothly, placing a warm, confident hand on Emily's lower back. "She's my date." Emily stared at him wide-eyed, her voice caught in her throat. "You're what?" He leaned in, breath brushing her ear. "Just play along. Trust me, I'll explain." This was insane, but the stares from nearby guests were ice-tipped arrows, and her dignity was already bleeding. Against every sane instinct, she nodded. "Okay." The doorman stepped aside. "Of course, Mr. Walker, apologies." And just like that, Emily was swept into the glittering ballroom on the arm of a billionaire she didn't know. It was like walking into a dream she hadn't been invited to. Ceiling-high floral arrangements swayed above gold-rimmed champagne flutes. Music from a live-string quartet floated in the air. Every pair of eyes turned toward them. Every expression said, "Who is she?" "Do you do this often?" Emily whispered. Logan's lips twitched. "Only when I need to crash my ex-fiancé's wedding with a little dignity." Emily nearly tripped on the marble floor. "I'm sorry, you're what now, Lauren Whitmore, the bride." He said it like ordering black coffee. "And I'm your decoy date." "Unless you'd prefer going back to argue with security," he murmured. She bit her tongue. "Decoy it is." The crowd parted for them like water, Logan's presence magnetic. They reached a table near the grand floral archway and sat. Emily let out a shaky breath. "This is surreal," she muttered. "We need a story," Logan said, half grinning. "How did we meet?" Emily hesitated, then smiled. "Bookstore. Poetry section. You knocked over a stack of biographies trying to look cool?" "Sounds like me," he said with a smirk. She rolled with it. "I helped you pick them up. You said I looked like someone who knew the difference between Miles Davis and Coltrane." His laugh was warm, genuine. "Jazz fan. I like that." They shook hands like characters in a rom-com. Logan Walker, jazz nerd, wedding crasher. Emily Parker, accidental +1. poorly dressed and panicking. His hand lingered a moment too long. "What were you really doing here?" he asked. Emily looked away. "Long story short, my cousin's wedding, no real invite, just a do me a favor and drop this off. And I stupidly thought maybe they actually wanted me here." Logan studied her face. "But you stayed. I didn't want to look pathetic," she said, swallowing hard. Before he could respond, the music dimmed. A voice cut across the ballroom like a glass breaking. "What is she doing here?" The room fell deathly quiet. Emily's spine stiffened. She didn't need to turn. She knew that voice. Lauren Whitmore, dressed in designer silk veil, tucked like a crown, stared across the room with frosted fury. And she was looking directly at Emily. The venom in her voice made it clear Emily wasn't just unexpected, she was unwelcome. Logan didn't flinch. "She's with me," whispers broke out. A woman in pearls actually gasped. Champagne froze midair, but Logan's hand found the small of Emily's back again, steady, reassuring. She felt every heartbeat in her chest like thunder. They walked to their seats like nothing had happened, but the shift in the room was undeniable. Laughter resumed but quieter. Conversations continued but with eyes darting toward them. "I feel like I just detonated a social grenade," Emily muttered. "You did," Logan replied. "And it was magnificent." Emily tried not to smile. She tried not to care. But the weight of every judgmental stare pressed on her like the chandelier might drop on her head. And then it came syrupy, sweet, and sharp as a knife. "How precious," said a woman across the table, fake smile in place. "A billionaire brings a mystery girl to the altar of his past." Emily met her gaze and replied coolly, "Better than showing up empty." The woman blinked in shock. Logan stifled a laugh, but Emily could feel it. The storm hadn't passed. It had only just begun, and across the ballroom, Lauren Whitmore stood from the head table. She was walking toward them. Not walking, gliding, like a queen coming for war. And Emily was still barefoot on the battlefield. "I'm truly sorry to pause here, especially right when it's getting intense. But I promise what happens next will shake up everything. Tell me this, if you were Emily, would you have followed Logan into that ballroom or walked away? Do you believe one moment can change the entire course of a life? Also, where in the world are you watching from? I'd love to know. And if you're enjoying the story so far, please hit like or drop a heart to support the next part." Lauren Whitmore reached their table like a storm in heels, her white gown flowing behind her. Like a warning flag, eyes cold and calculating. Conversations in the room stalled again, as if the walls themselves were bracing for impact. Emily sat still, shoulders drawn, heart pounding in her chest like it was trying to escape. Logan Lauren said, her voice smooth but tight, "May I borrow you for a moment?" He didn't move immediately. Instead, to Emily's shock, he glanced at her first. "Is that okay with you?" he asked, his voice low. Emily nodded, though her stomach dropped. "Go ahead, I'll be fine." He stood and Lauren led him away toward the towering wedding cake that looked more like a monument than a dessert. The moment they disappeared behind a column of roses, Emily felt every eye shift back onto her. Whispers rose like smoke curling through the chandelier light. Across the room, she noticed a tray of untouched champagne flutes passing by. In their reflection, she caught something strange: two women near the back of the ballroom. One of them was Lauren's mother. The other was someone Emily hadn't seen in years, her aunt. And in her hand, folded neatly, was a white envelope, the gift envelope Emily's mother had sent her with. Her blood ran cold. She wasn't supposed to be here. Not really. She had been told to deliver the gift, not to stay, not to be seen. And now it was clear the card hadn't even included a name, a table number, or a real invitation. It had all been staged. She was never meant to belong. The realization burned through her like ice. Humiliated, Emily pushed her chair back slowly and stood. Nobody stopped her. Maybe nobody noticed. Or worse, maybe they did, and they just didn't care. She slipped through the side door to the terrace, away from the chandeliers and champagne, into the cool Boston night. The breeze kissed her flushed cheeks, and beyond the railing, the city glowed indifferently. The click of the door behind her startled her. But it wasn't Logan. It was Lauren. Leaving so soon, she asked, her tone pleasant, like poison in tea. Emily turned, jaw set. "What do you want?" Lauren shrugged. "To understand," What's your angle, Emily? Show up uninvited, attach yourself to Logan like a lifeline. Is that the plan? I didn't come here for you. Emily replied, her voice low. I came to drop off a gift because someone asked me to. That's it. Lauren tilted her head, almost pitying. So, you didn't know you weren't on the list? I do now, Emily said flatly. Then maybe take the hint. Emily turned to leave, then paused. Slowly, she looked over her shoulder. Funny, she said quietly. Logan never looked at you the way he looked at me tonight. That hit its mark. For a fraction of a second, Lauren's perfect mask cracked, and that's when the door opened again. Logan! He moved past Lauren like she wasn't even there, his focus laser sharp. Emily, you okay? I'm fine, she said too quickly. You don't have to be, he replied gently. Then from his jacket, he pulled something small, a white envelope. Your mom gave this to Lauren's assistant. I found it shoved in a gift bag marked not attending. Emily took it with shaking fingers. Inside a generic card. No name, no seat, just the words. Thank you for delivering the gift. Her throat tightened. They didn't want me here, she whispered. No, Logan said. But you belong here more than any of them. Emily looked up at him, really looked, and found no pity in his eyes. Only quiet certainty. And something else. Something deeper. Let's go back inside, she said, her voice steadier. When they re-entered the ballroom, people noticed, but not the way they had before. The stares weren't sharp. They were stunned. Logan wasn't dragging her in for show. He was walking beside her like she was his choice. Not a placeholder, not a tool, but someone who mattered. At their table, a different kind of silence settled. This time it didn't sting. It steadied. And then someone clapped. Just one person awkwardly. But then another followed. Then someone raised a glass. It was subtle, hesitant, but real. Emily's eyes burned. She didn't blink. The night resumed, but not like before. The spell had shifted. She wasn't invisible anymore. She wasn't the girl in the wrong dress or the forgotten cousin, not next to him. Later, as the speeches wrapped up, Logan leaned over and whispered, "Want to get out of here?" Emily nodded. He led her through a back door into a garden behind the hotel. Twinkling fairy lights swayed in the trees. The distant sounds of the city faded beneath a canopy of quiet. "I'm sorry," she said finally, voice breaking. "For crashing your night." He stopped, turned to her. "You didn't crash anything. You saved it." Emily blinked. "Saved it? I was going to walk in there alone and pretend it didn't hurt," Logan said. "Pretend that watching the woman I once thought I'd marry someone else didn't matter. But then you walked in and reminded me how it feels to be seen." Emily looked down at the velvet grass. "It's been a long time since I felt seen," she said. Logan stepped closer. "I see you." And in the quiet between their words, the chaos of the evening faded, leaving only this moment unexpectedly honest and utterly real. "I hate to stop here, especially now that things are finally turning, but I promise what's coming next will touch a deeper part of your heart. Now I want to hear from you. Do you think Emily should forgive her family for setting her up this way? Have you ever felt like you didn't belong only to realize later that maybe you did all along? Tell me in the comments. And where are you watching this story from? I'd love to know. If this part moved you even a little, please like or drop a heart so I can keep sharing more stories like this one. They stood in the garden beneath a sky streaked with silver stars, the air still damp from the earlier spring rain. Emily's shoes were in her hand, her bare feet pressing softly into the grass, and Logan stood a step away, his hands tucked in his pockets as if he didn't know what to do with them. For once, the man who always seemed in control looked completely undone. "You really didn't have to follow me out here," she said quietly. "I didn't follow you," Logan replied, his voice low. "I chose to be here." Something about that sentence wrapped around Emily's heart. It wasn't just what he said, it was how he said it, as if choosing her had been the only thing that made sense all night. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a small velvet pouch. "I've been holding on to this for weeks," he said. "I found it in the room after you left that bookstore conference in Vermont. You must have left it in your travel bag." Emily took the pouch slowly, curiosity blooming into something more tender. She opened it and gasped. Inside was a delicate silver necklace with a tiny charm in the shape of a book. Her voice caught. "I thought I lost this years ago. It was my mom's. You once told me that when you wore it, you felt like you belonged somewhere, Logan said. I figured, maybe you'd want it back. Emily closed her hand around the charm as tears stung her eyes. You remembered that I remember everything you said to me that night, he replied, stepping closer. Especially the parts you didn't mean to say. She didn't look away. Not this time. The air between them shifted. Not dramatic, not rushed, just something slow and real. Like two people finally seeing each other clearly after a long fog. I don't know what any of this is, Emily whispered. I don't know where it goes or what it means. Logan smiled gently. I'm not asking you for a future. I'm asking if you'd be willing to try for something that's real. No performance, no masks, just us. He reached into his pocket again. This time it was a small box. Emily froze. He opened it. A simple ring. No diamonds, no shine. Just a quiet silver band, elegant and unassuming. I'm not asking you to marry me tomorrow, or even next year, he said. I'm asking if you'll stand next to me and see where this leads. Emily took a breath that felt like the first true breath she'd had in years. Yes, she said, her voice firm, because for the first time in a long time, I actually want to be seen. Logan slid the ring onto her finger, not as a promise of forever, but as the start of something neither of them expected, but both of them needed. Months passed. Emily didn't return to the bookstore. Instead, she accepted Logan's invitation to join the Walker Foundation, a nonprofit named after his late sister Isabel. Emily led educational outreach programs across the country and even abroad. She wrote grants that turned into classrooms. She visited schools in rural towns, helped launch literacy programs in underfunded neighborhoods, and slowly, quietly changed lives. And in doing so, she changed her own. One evening, in a tiny village in the Peruvian highlands, Emily stood surrounded by children tugging at her sleeves, each one eager to show her their handmade books. Across the courtyard, Logan watched her like he still couldn't believe she was real. That night under the stars, Emily asked, "Do you still think the night of that wedding was the beginning?" Logan smiled. No, that night wasn't the beginning. It was the universe finally getting out of our way. 3 months later, they held their own celebration. No chandeliers, no gowns, no guest list drawn by society. Instead, in the backyard of a small farmhouse just outside Boston, their friends brought books instead of flowers and donated them to a local library in Isabel's name. At the entrance sat a single photo in a gold frame. It was a still image pulled from the Westbridge Hotel's security camera, that first night when Emily stood in the rain, damp hair clinging to her cheeks, clutching a wrapped gift and looking so uncertain of her place. Beneath the photo, in elegant script, read the words, "Kindness is never wasted. It writes the best stories even when no one is watching." Emily walked down the aisle barefoot, not behind anyone this time, but beside Logan. He met her with an open collar and no tie, just like the night they met. As she reached him, he whispered, "Still think you don't belong here?" Emily smiled through quiet tears. "No, I think I was always meant to rewrite what that means." And this time she didn't need permission to be chosen. She had chosen herself. Now, before we close the chapter on Emily and Logan's story, I want to ask you, do you believe in second chances, especially the ones we never saw coming? Has someone ever made you feel seen in a way that changed everything? Let me know your thoughts. How did this story make you feel if you truly connected with it? Comment no more than 3 below. If you feel it still needs something more, comment no more 1. And if you thought it was just okay, drop a no 2. Also, I'd love to know, where in the world are you watching from? Please don't forget to like, drop a heart, and share this video with someone who believes in unexpected beginnings and stories that heal.